Lori Daybell is going to trial, whether she believes her kids are zombies or not. And will Barry Morphew be allowed to walk free? This is a big week in the Summer Wells case, too. And we're exploring whether online internet sleuths are causing more harm than good. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's crime recap on Profiling Evil. As we get started, I hope you'll take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. This week, prosecutors in Minnesota refused to file charges against a police officer who shot a gun-wielding Amir Locke. If you remember, Amir Locke was at his cousin's apartment in February when a SWAT team entered the home while verbally announcing their presence. Locke pointed a firearm at police, who shot and killed him. Well, think back. A judge had approved the warrant for the raid, and the county attorney, Michael Freeman, and the Minnesota Attorney General, Keith Ellison, concluded that there was insufficient admissible evidence to file criminal charges in the case. I asked this question when the case first happened, and I'm going to ask it again. How many of you out there sleep with a loaded pistol under the sheets in bed with you? I mean, wouldn't this have had a different outcome if Mr. Locke had simply complied with police? And folks, since we're chatting about complying with police commands, did you see the Walmart shopper who was wielding a knife at police in Florida? At first, she came into the store armed with a brick, threatening customers as she walked around. At one point, she grabbed a pair of scissors from a rack and then she used those scissors to open a knife package, gaining access to a large knife. Officers were called, and when they found her, they ordered her to drop the knife. They did so repeatedly, but she repeatedly refused to do so. Now, for those of you who like the cop play-by-play, watch the arriving backup officer closely in this video. As the officer approaches the scene, she realizes that she's in the direct line of fire of the primary officer. Watch her as she moves to a different aisle where she gets out of the line of fire, flanking the suspect. This is a great example of officer survival skills in action. Now, you're going to see her distract the person with the knife for just a moment, and you'll watch and see the deputy switch from his firearm to his taser when the backup officer is distracting her. Let's watch this video.
Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop it now. Put it down. Put the knife down. Put it down. Put the knife down. Put it down now. Put the knife down.
Maybe I could be a killer when I'm not.
Drop the knife. Drop the knife.
Drop the knife.
Drop the knife now. Drop the knife.
God damn it! So y'all kidnapping me? You got it? Yeah, I know I'm fixing to get cut up. But y'all get my family.
Well, there you go. Wouldn't it be a lot easier to just do what police ask when they tell you to drop the gun, drop the knife, don't point one in the first place? Let's update you on some developments in the Summer Wells investigation. For the first time since this case started, the detective who's handling the case appeared on News Channel 11. The investigator repeated comments made by Sheriff Ronnie Lawson about the investigation, pointing toward the idea that Summer wandered off and may have had an accident. Detective John Pruitt alluded to the possibility that there was an abduction, but he said there just isn't any evidence to support the theory. Instead, he said, everything points to Summer sneaking away to play, and then something went terribly wrong. Well, the possibilities are frightening in this case. I mean, we have to continue to think, could the child have been abducted? And why was there so much attention around that maroon Toyota truck? You remember that one with the racks and the white buckets in the back? Was Summer the victim of a homicide? And of course, what about an accidental drowning? All of these theories are being stirred up by podcasters and YouTubers, all creating and speculating. All the while, though, investigators who have the authority to look into the case, you know, the cops, the people who have all the evidence, all of the interviews, the polygraph results, and all of the witness statements, including those from Summer's siblings, keep reminding us that they don't think it's an abduction. Yet, we continue to say it is. Now, in defense and being a devil's advocate, they are saying they don't think it's an abduction, but that doesn't mean that they're not focusing on it as a murder case or an abduction case. But it really seems like they're thinking this was an accident at home. Now, the only thing they continue to state over and over again is that Summer may have wandered off. I've commented on this probability time and time again. I mean, think about those videos of Summer playing in her backyard. This little child is a go-getter. She's unafraid. Do you remember Dawn's comments in the first few days after her disappearance, saying she wasn't afraid of anything, including her brothers? She was a fighter. Then think of those videos of her running around, unattended, inside their church. This is one adventurous little girl, and I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that she did exactly what investigators are now saying. She snuck out of the house to play, and then she had an accident. Now, maybe I'm stressing this because I've repeatedly proposed it as an option for the past 10 months. But thinking along these lines doesn't get our emotions boiling as much as if we accuse the parents of murder or we pursue the boogeyman in the maroon truck. I'm wondering if my fellow YouTube creators who spin these conspiracy theories know more than the sheriff's office, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, or the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Well, my confidence remains in the authorities who have the facts, the training, and the inside track. I've asked this before, but I'm going to ask it again. Are we podcasters and YouTubers hurting the case, or are we helping? Listen as the reporter and Hawkins County Detective John Pruitt chat about this issue. And think about this. Pruitt says, self-proclaimed online investigators and social sleuths have turned this case into a mess of ideas and tips from everywhere across the U.S. and overseas. Let's watch.
Self-proclaimed online investigators and social media sleuths have turned this case into a mess of ideas. And tips have come in from everywhere across the U.S. and even overseas. That help, Pruitt says, has led to little more than time wasted.
If these people want to help so much, we always accept applications to certified individuals.
At about the same time Detective Pruitt was making those comments, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations was reminding the world that there is, quote, a slew of misinformation circulating on social media. Leslie Earhart went on to say, we want to urge you to only share information from official sources. The misinformation and the speculation simply don't help the case. Our teams continue to sift through hundreds of tips, and it turns out that most of them are rooted in rumors and bad information spread on social media. And now there are also concerns that Summer's parents have an attorney and they are no longer cooperating with the sheriff's investigation. But Candace wrote a note to a local reporter that his assessment was incorrect. backed up by her mother, who publicly stated that was not the case on television. Let's watch those short exchanges.
Family still cooperating? I know you said obviously no Dawn's there, but like the mother and all those other people, are they still cooperating?
No, they're not cooperating right now. They have attorneys.
In March, search crews hit the ground in Beach Creek again, and Summer's grandmother, Candace Hare, spoke on camera for the first time.
Mr. Lawson stated that Candace and the whole family is lawyered up. I can't speak for Donnie, and I know Candace hasn't because she's told me she hasn't, and I have.
And now, Detective Pruitt is reaffirming the agency's opinion that Summer is not a victim of a crime. Listen in.
I believe that she would probably be somewhere close by, because we found nothing to lead us to believe that she's been abducted or trafficked out of the.
There's no question in my mind that the citizen sleuths have created a worthless bucket load of tips, and that leads for law enforcement in the Summer Wells case are piling up. I want to believe their hearts are in the right place, but I fear that sometimes these wild conspiracy theories are simply a means to gain views and get likes or net the financial reward that comes from your donations. As long as the viewers reward this kind of behavior, the trend's going to continue, perhaps even intensify. It's a whole lot funner, isn't it, to listen to all of the bizarre stuff than the facts? Well, that's our choice, and it's law enforcement's dilemma. But I think we need to ask ourselves, me included, do we want case investigators burrowing down senseless rabbit holes that perhaps we've created? Or do we want them really focusing on the importance of the case? Now, are all online creators bad? Absolutely not. I am surrounded by amazing YouTube creators. The citizen detective cannot be discounted. Your tips and leads are helping solve cases every single day. I mean, there are cases like the couple who captured video of Gabby Petito's van in the Grand Teton National Park, or the case of Kristen Smart out in California, where podcasters help police solve her murder. You know, this is a time for law enforcement to just quit complaining about citizen detectives and figure out a way to leverage the massive true crime community that wants to help. I've said it before to law enforcement, and I'll say it again. Having a Facebook or Twitter account cannot be your police department's strategy for social media. Law enforcement needs to figure out when it's appropriate to open the kimono and share a little bit more of information on these cases. You got to figure out how to embrace technology and do it in a different way by asking for certain kinds of help. In one case, it might be mobilizing a band of volunteer searchers. Another way is to do like the Indiana State Police have done in the Delphi murder case and ask for a specific question. Have you had any interaction with the online screen name of Anthony Schatz? And they're starting to ask more there. By giving the community a specific assignment, law enforcement can retake control of their investigations rather than simply complaining about the worthless clues that they're receiving. To my police buddies, you just can't have it both ways. Which leads me to my final thoughts in this segment. Let's leave police work to sworn police officers who have the authority to conduct these investigations. Citizen detectives shouldn't be showing up at homes, places of employment, or houses of worship. It just doesn't seem worth the risk of damaging an official investigation, just so you can get more views or make a little more money. Now let's move on. Hey, for those of you who missed my little high-speed pursuit video, here's a rerun. It happened as I sat in a shopping mall parking lot, listening to my buddy Duty Ron's Live with Ed Wallace. Suddenly, I observed a bunch of police cars entering the parking lot, and without thinking, I went into cop mode. Cop mode is a heightened sense of alertness, perhaps a certain amount of paranoia. I dumped the live I was watching, sorry, Ron, and I made a quick phone call to my wife who was inside the mall. I suggested that she find an exit and get out of the building immediately. Why? Well, my first thought was her safety. Was there a major event going down? Why were all the cops swarming on the mall? Was it an active shooter? What on earth was going on? Well, just as our call was connecting, I figured out why law enforcement was there in numbers. It was a high-speed chase with a little rascal who undoubtedly got in a lot of trouble when he got home. Probably not from police, but more from his parents. Watch this unfold. Hey, stop! Stop! Well, the boy has probably lost his go-kart privileges for a while, dodging in and out of the parking lot and onto surface streets. Those dang kids. But what a great reminder that we all need to be ever vigilant of our surroundings. So go back and watch my videos on how to reduce your risk of being victimized. Now, let's talk a little bit about Lori Daybell. Another unexpected surprise came down this week with Idaho Judge Stephen Boyce ruling that Lori Daybell is competent to stand trial for the murder of her children. Daybell and her husband will stand trial for first-degree murder, which could include the death penalty. Now, make sure you go over and watch my live on the night that was announced, just a few videos back, where I answer the questions about what's coming next. And folks, I hope you're catching my segments on cults among us, especially the one I released this week, where I go back and visit the FLDS polygamous community, the group led by imprisoned child rapist Warren Jeffs. You're going to be astounded as I meet with Jeff's former bodyguard, and he takes me to the child cemetery and the secret caves where the cult hid a surplus of food, explosives, and weapons. But for now, let's wrap up with a little chat about Barry Morphew's trial. Well, that's the big question on my mind right now is, can the 11th Judicial District Attorney recover from this near-fatal blow levied by Judge Ramsey Lama last week? The court decimated the prosecution's expert witness lineup when it announced the repeated violations of court orders and Rule 16, saying it left no choice but to exclude 12 of the state's 14 endorsed expert witnesses in the murder case against Barry Morphew. Now, Rule 16 clearly states and grants the defense counsel the right to obtain names of witnesses and any statements, the evidence, prior to a preliminary hearing. It requires that every statement made by the accused in possession of the district attorney is turned over to them. Well, the state didn't meet their responsibility, and now they're facing a choice of taking their chances or dismissing the case, perhaps to return on another day. In the motion filed by prosecutors, they argued their case relies heavily on evidence of Morphew's motive to harm his wife, the opportunity that he alone had as he was the last person to see Suzanne alive. It argues the inconsistencies in his statement to law enforcement and the ultimate cover-up that he perpetrated on the day after and in the following months. Now, it's clear that the state is going to be crippled if they cannot get their experts in. They have experts that are going to talk about the truck's forensics, the information from the onboard computer that states, according to the state, that Morphew was lying about his alibi, that he went to bed early that night before Suzanne disappeared. The state's also going to be prevented from showing evidence that supports their claim that Morphew's phone data was deleted in bulk before the phone was seized, including 381 text messages, 25 calls, and 58 saved locations. As you might guess, the defense fired back a response asking the judge to deny the motion. They stated, quote, "The facts in the case are insufficient to reach a murder conviction, and the stricken experts do nothing more than bolster uncorroborated theories and hunches that the prosecution would like the jury to adopt and that would lead to a wrongful conviction," close quote. Well, the bottom line here is the state, according to the defense and Judge Lama, failed to provide required information in a timely manner. That's costing them. It could cost them the case if they move forward without the needed evidence. Now, it may be just the push they need to call uncle on this case and give Morphew a win. If they drop the case now, they may be able to return and fight on another day. But if they go forward without the evidence they need, they could lose the case, and they won't get another bite at the state apple charges. So, what are your thoughts on this week's recap, folks? Number one, do you think people wielding dangerous weapons should argue with police, or should they simply comply? What's your opinion on whether Summer Wells disappeared by a criminal act or by an accident or simply wandering off? And what would you do if your little boy led police on a high-speed chase from his go-kart? I'm going to be watching for your answers below, and I hope you'll interact with each other too on all these. Please hit the like and the subscribe button and share Profiling Evil with your contacts. And please consider joining our channel memberships. My favorite, it's the Academy level, where you get extra information not found anywhere else. I'm not going to be doing court TV this week because Johnny Depp's case is taking all the airtime. So we'll be back with an unsolved murder case next week. Remember, you can find Profiling Evil on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you like podcasts, you can get us on your favorite podcast platform. And by all means, don't forget to check us out on the World Wide Web at profilingevil.com. Hey, thanks again, folks, for all of your loyalty. Please hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you soon at the next crime scene.